All right, this is going to be quite short because there's only a few slides here. Understanding learning mechanisms in large language models, and that is going to help us engineer efficient prompts and better manage context. So just a lot of terminology as well, again, but not as much as in the next part. Okay, so zero-shot prompting, you might have heard the term, maybe not. It refers to an LLM's ability to perform a task without any examples provided in the prompt, just one clear instruction. Some call it zero-shot learning, but you're not really training the model, you're only prompting it. The thing is that the LLM will have been pre-trained on many similar tasks, as millions of people around the world are using the same model. The model is all the time learning and updating and understanding. So it's going to recognize typical task types like classify, translate, analyze, summarize, etc. It's going to know what those words already mean. Also mentioned in the previous lecture, if you say chain of thought, it knows what that is as well. So you could just give it a prompt, classify the sentiment of this sentence. I really enjoyed the lecture. I hope you did. And it will know already that it can classify, it knows what sentiments is, and it will be able to say, yes, positive. So zero-shot just means the prompt has no examples, only a clear instruction or instructions. Now, in-context learning is not the same as prompt engineering. In-context learning is the LLM's ability to adapt to a task using only the prompt without changing the underlying model parameters. Okay, so changing the underlying model parameters is context engineering. So the model learns from examples embedded in the prompt. So it's not parameter updating or learning, but it's just an inference from the pattern. So in-context learning is not zero-shot, but it can be one-shot or few-shot, multitask learning styles. So you can control not just the content, but also the format, tone, and reasoning style. It can be quite, you can give it examples with few shots of many things. I mean, this is just the sentiment example again, just here, like, what a waste of time is negative. It was better than expected is positive. Now the sound quality was poor. What's that? So you've already given it a few shots at what you want it to output, and it'll learn from that in context. But you can do more than just sentiment. You can give the format, the tone of the answer, concise or Socratic, i.e. questioning, or verbose, etc., etc. So in context just means that everything the LLM needs is included in that prompt. So it's not just few-shot programming. One-shot learning could be a single example, which sets the pattern. Describe a dog, a loyal animal that barks. Now describe a cat. What would you say? A independent animal that purrs. Okay, chain of thought. Encourage step-by-step reasoning. You could give it a prompt that says bananas grow in warm climates. Spain has warm regions, therefore bananas can grow in Spain, and encourage that type of reasoning in the way that it responds later on in the conversation. Instruction style multitasking, you could give several different tasks in one prompt. So all of this is one prompt. Translate, hello to bonjour. It knows that the language is French. Summarize, she went to the shop and bought milk. She bought milk. You know that you want a concise précis of any, remove any redundant words. Classify, that was awful, negative. That's the same sentiment example. So all of these are just operating purely within the prompt. There's no model training that you need in order for it to learn in that context. You just do the one prompt and it's learned something. So what is the difference between in-context learning and prompt engineering? Well, it's a subtle difference, really. In-context learning is the capability of large language models, whereas prompt engineering is a technique used by humans to make the model behave as desired. So in-context learning means that the model learns a pattern from examples given in the prompt, whereas prompt engineering is just carefully wording the input to guide the model's output. It's nothing particular to do with learning. Prompt engineering describes what the user does, whereas in-context learning describes what the model is doing. It's learning the task on the fly from the context, whereas in prompt engineering, you're crafting the context to influence the model. Subtle difference, but similar. What about the difference between in-context learning and context engineering? Well, as you know, the in-context learning occurs within the user prompt. The model adapts to patterns, interpreting examples and instructions provided in the same session, same conversation. Context engineering is broader, is the discipline of structuring the entire, deliberately structuring the entire conversational environment. So it does include in-context learning, but it also involves designing system-level behavior using structural settings, tool integrations, API calls, and so forth, memory management, external databases, things like that. And there is this key distinction, the user prompt and the system prompt. The user prompt is the visible input typed by the person into that window. For example, explain the Fibonacci series to a college student could be a user prompt. The system prompt is a hidden setup instruction that gets put into code from the context engineer. For example, you are a Socratic teaching assistant, could be a system prompt. Okay, that's the end of this session. And see if I can get another short video in before the dog wakes up.